Okay, welcome to chapter 7. I like this chapter. This is kind of like Excel show its muscles. Okay, so it's not only working with small things, but also you can integrate more of worksheets, workbooks together. Okay, so far what we have seen before is that you work in separate worksheets, but in this chapter you can see that you can work on multiple worksheets together and summarize multiple worksheets in just a few simple clicks. Okay. Basically, we have 3 concepts here. So we're going to talk about group worksheets. So you group worksheets together and work in one worksheet, and that will affect all the other worksheets. Okay. And also, you can create summary worksheets from these group worksheets. So, for example, summarize the monthly incomes or something. And also, we're going to use multiple workbooks. So it's not only multiple worksheets, but you can also connect one workbook to another workbook, different workbooks. You can also work collaboratively. So you can, each one of you have multiple versions of the same file. You all send the files to me, and I will consolidate everything together in one workbook. As simple as that. And we're also going to see how we can create templates. If you're aware of Word documents templates, this is kind of like the same thing, so it's not a major issue here. But let's start with group worksheets. Okay, we all know that the worksheets are 2 dimensions. So you work in columns and rows. Okay, in a group worksheets, it's kind of like adding a 3rd dimension to your data. So an example here is the supplement file that I gave with the SPA. If you want to open that. For example, if you have a small business and you want to track monthly payments or monthly revenue for your business, you would maybe create 12 different sheets, okay? But these sheets will share the same structure. You always have, for example, here, you will always have the dates, the services, the hours, the charge hour, the total charges, and running total. So we have here our example of the therapist. So we have 3 therapists here. They share the same exact data or the same stat structure, but they have different data in between, right? Okay. So it's the same structure. You can group these 3 together. So when you make changes to one, you will make changes to all others, all right? So instead of, for example, coming here and say the total charges, you put equal this multiplies this, and you go again to another worksheet and you do the same thing. You can group them together, and you just click, I'll add one formula, and it will be for all. And how you're gonna group things together? Okay. So we have the 3 worksheets down there. If you click Control, you can select multiple worksheets, okay? You can do that individually. So you can select these 2 only. Or if you click Shift, you click the first one, Shift, and the end one, you will select all in between, including the 2 edges, all right? So for example, if you want to select this worksheet all the way here, you click Shift, and you click all the way down there, I will select all in between. If you want to ungroup the worksheets, you go and right-click any of these worksheets and click Ungroup. Okay. Why we need that, we're going to see that later, but it's important to understand when to use Shift and when to use Control. Control if you want to select multiple worksheets individually, or if you want to select the group, the whole group is a continuous group. You click the first one, Alt Shift, the last one, and you select all in between. All right. How that becomes handy in our example here. Let's start with an example of entering a formula, okay? For example, the total charges here equals the number of hours times the charge per hour, all right? So instead of typing it manually for each one, I'm gonna group the 3 worksheets. I'm gonna just go in one of them, doesn't matter. I will say this one equals the hours times the charge per hour. And I click Enter. All right. If you go everywhere else, you will find that it's already calculated for you. okay? So if you still keep that in mind and you go and use the autofill all the way to 24, you will see that everything is there, all right? For example, this one is formatted as accounting, and these are not. These are general, all right? So if you go to the first one, any one of them, and for example, if you go to the second one, and you change that to accounting, the third one will also go to accounting, okay? So instead of doing it individually, you group the whole worksheets together, and you can add formulas there. Same thing here, the running total. Running total is the cumulative. So what does this do is that you go, the first one equals the same amount as the total, but the next one will equal the previous total plus the current total. Okay, that's the cumulative. If you apply that to the whole here, you can see that it's already done for the other worksheets. Okay? So you can enter data, you can enter formulas, you can enter functions. You can also, okay. You can use something called fill across. We used to do the fill down, right? So when you select this one and you go, for example, here, and you fill down, this is what we do by dragging this one. You can fill across multiple worksheets. For example, let's go and ungroup. Let's say you came here and you added something. You said, I want to add the total here. And you added a sum of total charges down there. So you go and added the sum down there. Then you realize that, okay, you want this to be also for the other work groups because you ungrouped it, so it's not there, okay? You want to copy that across multiple workbooks. What you're gonna do is that you're gonna select the group, you're gonna select this range, you're gonna use something here called across workbooks. So you're gonna fill across these workbooks, okay? If you click on that one, it will tell you, do you want to copy everything or the content only or the format only? Okay, you can apply either one. So I would say here, I would apply the content. This apply all. Let's say, okay. Now if you go to others, you'll see that the same formula is in all other workbooks. Same thing if you want to apply, let's say, a format. So for example, if you select at the top one, this ungroup, and you came to this one and you selected the top row and you changed the format, you selected this format. And you want to apply the same format across all the other workbooks. You'll simply add them together or group them. You select this range and you go to fill across or across worksheet. And now we want to apply just the format. We don't want the content. We want to keep the content as it is, but we want to apply the format, which is the color. And you click OK, and now the color is in all other workbooks. Okay, imagine how you're going to do that individually if you have to do that one by one. Always remember to ungroup if you want to make individual changes. So make sure that it's ungrouped. The grouping, I don't know if you can see it there, but if it has this kind of like color and line, that means this is a grouped workbook. And you also can see it at the top there. It'll tell you group. See it up there? It'll tell you there is a group in this worksheet, okay? If you undo the group, that will go. So it's not there anymore. Now, we did quite a bit of grouping here, but what about summarization? So these are individual workbooks, all right? So what about consolidating everything in one worksheet? I don't want to see individual totals. I want to see all the totals from all my employees, all right? Here you can use either a 3D, we call it 3D reference, or a 3D range name, or a 3D formula. What the 3D means, it's across multiple workbooks, or multiple worksheets, sorry. So here, for example, if you want to calculate the total hours that occurred here, here, and there, you could use something called 3D reference. For example, if you come here and say equal, and you go to the first one, and you click hours, you can see that the name here, this is the name of the worksheet, sorry. At the end, there's an exclamation point. That means this is a worksheet, this thing here. This is a worksheet, and this is the cell reference, right? That's kind of like a third dimension to it. And then you kind of say add. You go to the other one, and you click hours. That will add another worksheet for you. And you click add again. We go to the third one. We are not using the group here, all right? So we're using it individually. This is one of the ways that to do a summary. And the third one is hours here, all right? And you finish, you click enter. So now we get the total here is 2. This is called a 3D reference. So it's reference each cell, the same cell, C7, across multiple worksheets, okay? And again, if you use the autofill there, you'll just get the total. So this is the total hours that work between these, across these therapists. You can also use total charges, or sum, actually, sum. So for example, the sum function, you have to add the other worksheet. So you can do it the same way, or you can do it this way. So you want to sum the total charges for this therapist, and now you're going to use the group, all right? So now you're going to sum not only this one, but you want to go and shift and click all the way down there, third one. Notice what's going to happen there. Now we're going to sum across multiple workbooks, multiple worksheets, sorry, separated by this column. So this is the first one, which is Christy, and this is the last one, which is Jason. And we're going to sum all in between, the same functions, which is E7. All right? We're going to close that parentheses. This is the sum. And again, you can use the autofill to get the sum of all, okay? See how easy is that? So you can go and sum all. Think about it, you have 10 worksheets, okay? You can do that by one click only. You can also create what we call a 3D name range. Remember when we created a name range for, let's say this one, the total charges. You want to give it a name. So what we usually do is that we go here and give it a name, right? Let's change the name. But you want that name to reference all of the 3 values in the 3 workbooks, or 3 worksheets here. You want that name to reference these 3. What you're going to do is that you're going to go to formula, name manager, and you're going to create a new name. Let's say we give it a name total charges 3D, okay? But now here's the reference is not only this one, but you go and select the group. Now the reference goes to all of the cells in this group. So you use the shift and you select the 3 of them. Now you have this reference, you click OK. This name will refer to these 3 cells. So if you use sum and use this name inside, it will sum all the values inside that one, inside this name. That's a 3D name We can also use something called consolidate. If you go to data, we have a consolidate option here. And instead of doing that manually, each by each, using a 3D reference or a 3D name, you can do a whole area by one click by using the consolidate. You can consolidate by position, so the data are in the same location always. These data always there, so you want to consolidate these data always. Or you can consolidate by labels. So you want to consolidate the total charges. You can have to define the labels. You can see examples of both. Now here we want to consolidate the total charges and running totals for all the three. You see that they always come next to each other. So the total charges and running totals are always next to each other. So what we want to do is that we want to consolidate them here. What I'm going to do is that, how about I'm doing it right? So you go and select where you want to put the data, for example, here. You click consolidate, and the reference, you go to the first reference, and you select the data. So we have, this is our data that you want to consolidate from the first workbook. You click add. Okay, we added that one. So you go to the next one, the next worksheet. You can see that this data is already selected for you. Okay, so you have to just click add again to include this data from the second worksheet. And you go to the third one the same, and you'll see that this data is selected for you. So you add again. So what you're going to do is that you consolidate these three ranges in the range that you already selected before. If you click OK, everything is there for you. Okay, you don't have to do what we did before, which is a manual additions. You following? Okay. So this is called consolidate by position, because the data is always in the same position, using the position. We're not using the labels up there. Okay, we're using the position of the data. Notice that when you click consolidate, you always, when you move from worksheet to another, it will just select the same range again and again. The third one is, or not the third, the second one is consolidate by category. This is what the book says. You can use your preference. For example, I want to consolidate all of these. So I want to consolidate the surface, the hours, the charge per hour, and total charges in one summary sheet. Okay. But here I want to use the labels. I want to use the labels at the top and the labels at the left as my guidance. So I'll go here and select this table, this cell there. I will go to consolidate again, for example, data, consolidate. I go the same process, so I will go here and I will select this range. I will include the total. And I add that. Go to the next person. You see, it's already selected for me, so I add that too. And I go to the third one. Oops. Oh. This is the third one. Okay, this is the third one. Then add them. Now I'm going to use the label. So I want to use the top row label and the left column label. Right? So I have to check these. And I click OK. When you do that, you will see that you get the labels at the top and you get the surfaces here in between. But these are the sum. Okay, sum values. If you click in consolidate, you see that we're using the sum function up there. Okay, but we don't want to sum the labels. That's why we select the labels here. Excel doesn't take this value in this cell, which is the surfaces. If you notice that there's surfaces here, or surface. Excel doesn't take that, so you have to manually add that word there. And now you get a summary that has all the surfaces with the totals of hours, charges, and total charges. Okay. Remember when we created the 3D name range, which is the total charges 3D? For example, here, if you want to add it, You could use the regular summation there. So you can go and sum the data, but also you can use the total by saying sum, and we created total charges 3D. Okay, so if you use that one, it will bring you the total from all the others. So it will take the sum of this value plus this value plus this value. Okay. You following so far? Can you repeat anything? Okay. So the 2D reference is the regular one that we use, the row and columns. The 3D, what they call it, the 3D reference is when you use the sheet name followed by the exclamation point. That's when you use a reference in another sheet. For example, this one would say you go to January worksheet and you go to A6 cell reference. Okay? And we created all of these. With the summary, we also have something called linked summary. So what's happened here is that the data are calculated and copied as a value. Okay, you can see that here, these are values. Whenever you go and change any data in these worksheets, that will not affect the summary worksheet. Right? We already copied the value there. If you want these to be dynamic, if you go and change anything there, you will go and update it in the summary. You use what is called linked worksheet. It's exactly the same, but if you use the consolidate option, you can use create links to source data, right? If you click on that one, that will make a link to your original data, okay? I'll see if we have time at the end, I can explain that. The linked data are kind of different, okay? It's, you can see them differently than the regular summary. Actually, let's do that now, okay? I will go here and I want to create a summary out of these three. I think I use the F2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So let's create a linked data. I will go here and click consolidate. I will go to the first one. I'm going to select the whole range here, add it. Go to the next one, add that. Go to the third one and add that. I'm going to use the labels at the top, and I'm also going to create links to the source data. So if you go and click OK now, you'll see that we have different layout for the data because this is a summary of all the three workbooks linked to the originals. This is supposed to be the dates, but it's configured as general. So I'm going to go here and change that to time. It's supposed to be that one. Okay. So these are the totals, our regular totals. What is it? It doesn't consolidate surfaces because you use the sum. If you use the sum function, you cannot do that, okay? You can use the yes, so we use this as a labels. We want to organize the data by the dates, not by the surfaces, okay? So here we use the surfaces, that's why it will show the surfaces as it is. But now here we're going to show it as the dates. But you can notice that we got these two here. You see that? If you click on the second level, you will see that the sum comes from three different worksheets. Okay? You can see the worksheets. You can see where the data come from. And this is the total for the worksheets. And for example, for 8 a.m., these three worksheets yield these three values, three different values, okay? So it looks a little bit different than the regular consolidation, which is there's no cascading, there's no collapsing of data. So yeah, be careful with the label. The label, these two options will exclude these, the row and the left column from the calculation. They'll just bring them as it is, okay? That's for multiple worksheets. You see that you could work on multiple worksheets by selecting all of them together. What about multiple workbooks? Okay. So if you have your data in another workbook, you don't want to copy that data and put it in your workbook. If you want to use that workbook as it is, we use something called multiple workbook. I don't know if that makes it a 4D. So if multiple worksheets is a 3D, this is maybe a 4D. So for example, this workbook called SpaLink, you can see that we have a broken links here. Okay, we don't have a reference for the f function here, or the VLOOKUP function. Okay, so we wanna look up data that's in another workbook. That workbook is called SPA prices. Okay, I want to look up the price from this book. Okay, what you want to do is that you want to open both files together. Let me close that one. You can put them side by side or next to each other's, but both files or workbooks has to be open in order to use one as a reference. Okay, so for example here, I want to reference the table that's in this workbook, which is this range. All right, we can give it a name, doesn't matter. But let's say I want to change the reference here. So I'm going to take away all of this. And as a table array, I wanted to look up the values from here, from this array. Okay. If you go back, you will see that this is our reference. And the workbook is included between brackets. So if you want to break it down, this is the workbook. This is the worksheet inside that workbook. And this is the reference inside that worksheet, right? So workbooks are in between brackets. Worksheets followed by the exclamation points. And the reference is just a regular reference for the cell. Okay? That's how it goes. So now if you click OK, the reference goes there, so we want to use the autofill there. And these are just the multiplication of the others. Okay, so now we did this on, we didn't apply that for the others. You could have selected all of them, or you could use fill across. So if you selected that one, if you select all of them and use fill across, and now we get all values corrected. Okay. This is what is called working with external or multiple workbooks. Yeah, I'm going to close this one. Now, there's also something called sharing. So we could share this workbook and distribute it to others, and they make changes. And when the changes come back to me, I'll consolidate all these changes together. Okay, there are limitations. Some of these changes are not consolidatable, if that's a correct word. For example, the conditional formatting. Okay, so you cannot do a condition. You cannot everyone do a conditional formatting and give it to me. Then I will consolidate that. So that's cannot be. So there are limitations. If two made a correction at the same cell, I will get a conflict. It will say that this guy or this person did this change and this person did this change. Which one you want to accept? If two or more made the same change in the same cell. But if everyone is doing individual cells, you can just consolidate everything together. Before you start that, oops. I don't know, do you see this as a white up there or do you see it as a green? The theme of the cell. You see it green? Okay. You might want to change that theme because we're going to use something here and this is going to be a green color. So if it's not green, you will not see it. I would go to File, Options. I suppose it's going to be Theme, right? It's going to be, you see anything that's theme? Okay, Office theme, yeah. So you see it under General. Use something other than colorful. Use the white for now, if you're following. Okay. So what we want to add is that we want to add this compare and merge workbook. We want to add that at your axis here. You're going to do that by going to this column or this arrow there. You go to More Commands. And from Choose Commands From, you go and select All Commands. And you scroll down until you see this compare and merge. Compare. This one. Okay, so I already selected it. So you have to find it here. Click Add, and bring it to this cell. Compare and merge workbooks. You need that in order to consolidate data after you get them. And you cannot do that after you share your workbook. So you have to do it before you share your workbook. Now, this is our workbook. I want to share. I want to create a copy for someone. So he can add or she can add or change it. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to Review and you click Share Workbook. If you click on that one, it will tell you that you want to allow changes from more than one person. This is me only. I can work on this file. So if you want to make this shareable, you click on that one, on this option here. You click OK. It will tell you that there is a warning. You say OK. Now you can see that this says shared. So this workbook is shared now. What I want to do now is create a copy of this workbook and send it to other people who can work on it. Okay, if you have a shared folder or have a collaborative area where everyone can work on the same file, you're going to create a shared file from this by going to File, Save As, and I will give it a name, for example, User1. Okay? I'm going to save that. And I'm going to close. I'm going to close that one. So now here I have this is my original one, the shared one, or the price. And this is what I created. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to send this to someone who's going to make changes from it. All right? For example, I sent it to someone, he opened this file, and he decided, okay, the price here is not 75, it's 50. Okay, he decided to make a change there. This is a 50, not 75, okay? And he or she saved the file and closed it. Let's say I want to send this file to another one, another person who we're gonna make changes, okay? So I have to go to the original file, not the one that I created. So I created this one for user one. I have to go to my original file, which is spa prices. Spa prices, this one. You can see it's still shared. I didn't close the sharing. So I'm going to create another file here. Save as. I'm going to create user two. Okay. I'm going to close that file again. So if I go to my folder, user two, I send this to another person, okay, who opened the file and he decided or she decided that, okay, this is not a 75, this is 100. Okay, I don't know which others did. The others changed this to 50, right? I didn't know that because I'm just getting a copy. So I decided to change this to 100 and saved it. Now, for example, I'm the administrator of the files. I will ask them to submit these files to me. I'll send me your corrections, files that you corrected. So I have my original file here, which is SpaLink, and I have two versions, other versions that has changes. I want to consolidate these changes into my original file. So this is my original one. I'm going to open it. There you go. The SpaLink. This one. Spa prices. Okay, this is the spa prices. So this is my original. You see, still I have the 75, but I didn't consolidate the data or the files that from the others. What I'm going to do here is, you see this turn to green? Because I already created files to others. This is green now. It's not just a single one. That means there are files that might need to be consolidated. So I'll click on that one. It will tell me which file you want to consolidate. I would say, I want to consolidate this file, number one. And I'll click OK. Notice that I have 75 here, but this file made the changes on it, makes it 50. So when you click OK, that will turn to 50. And you can see that little box highlighted. There was a change in that cell. Okay. I want to consolidate the other workbook, which is from the second user into my workbook. I click OK, and you see that this turned to 100. Okay, so you can work on files, send it to all others, come back to me, and I decide if I accept these changes or not. Okay, as long as the file is shared, you can see the changes that I made. Once you close the sharing, these changes will be permanent. You won't see any changes in the tracking here. If you go to review, for example, and you click track changes, you want to highlight the changes that happens, or all of the changes that happened. And you want to list them in a new worksheet. You want a new worksheet here tells you which changes will happen. You select this option down there, and you click OK. Now you have a history of this file, of this worksheet. It will tell you who and when the changes will occur. Okay? If you want to close the sharing, you go back to the shared workbook again from the review, and you untick this mark. And if you do that, you will lose this worksheet, the history, because the changes are now permanent. So if you go there, untick that, click OK, it will tell you the history will be gone. So you say, OK, now your file is permanent. Okay? And the share title up there is gone. It's not shareable. Understood? A little bit confusing? If you work on it on Wednesday, you're gonna have a more clear vision about it. So I think the last point here is the template. So when you are in Excel and you click, for example, new, a new file, you see that there are templates. These are called templates. Okay? It's made by Office, and you can also search online templates. Anyone can create these templates. For example, if you select the billing statement, this one, you can click on it, and it's already pre-configured for you, okay? What you're gonna do is then save as and make it your own copy. You cannot edit these templates directly from here, okay? So for example, you decided to change this to your own company. So you say, this is my ABC company, and you wanna save that, you have to save as. You cannot save. If you click save, it will always tell you to change the name. So template is something, it's kind of like a mold. So you take it, make changes of it, and will not affect the template itself. How you create your own template? Let's say you modified this template, and you put your address, you put your name, you put everything, and you want to give this to your employee to use it as a template. Okay. To save it, you have to save it as XLTX, not XLSX. XLSX is the regular file, is a regular Excel file. XLTX stands for template. So how are you going to do that? Let's say you change this to and you made changes there, you put your phone numbers and everything, and now you want to save this as a template. You go and click Save As. And instead of saving it as a Excel workbook, you want to save it as an Excel template. I think it's going to be somewhere. You can see it. This one, okay? Excel template, okay? So you don't want to save it as a regular workbook. You want to save it as an Excel template, XLSX. And you can decide where you want to save it. So if you want to save it somewhere, anywhere. But if you want it to be where you open Excel and you see it as among the other templates, you have to save it in this directory. You save it in this directory. So you go to Program Files, Microsoft Office, Templates, 1033, and save the template there. So if you save it there, the next time you open Excel and you open a new file, let's say, if you save it in that directory and you go and create new, your template is going to be among those. Okay. And I think that's it for today.